Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the tools, advice, and strategy you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now, on to this week's show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. As always, I'm Josiah, joined with Travis, who is wearing a dapper hat, if I do say so myself. The prototype, the beta of the POD Print on Demand Cast hat. Travis, how's it going, man? The hat's looking good. You made it this last week, right?
Yeah. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, just made it, embroidered it on Friday, actually, and put a little thing in our Facebook group. If you guys are interested in joining that Facebook group, just printondemandcast.com/Facebook, and that'll take you right there. But I put a little video in there and showed how we did it. Still learning, about embroidery. We've only been doing it since November, and hats can be tricky. And a lot of the things that we're already doing for our customers are, single line of text, kind of single color. And so this obviously has some design to it and, placement and all of that stuff. It's an art form. It really is. And so it's been fun. It's been fun learning. You got to have a lot of patience with embroidery, but I think, in the end, the finished product looks pretty cool. And, coming to a store near you, I guess I should say. Yeah,
exactly. No, I can definitely attest that, embroidery is definitely an art form of sorts, because it takes all the patience that you just said. I mean, we had it here in house for a while, and it's very easy to, underestimate the amount of time it will take for you to master something. It looks simple on its face. It's just like, oh yeah, you load it in and you push, but no, there's so many moving pieces. There's so many like your bobbin errors and the tension knobs, and it definitely it tested my patience. It almost made me a full-fledged alcoholic when I was trying to learn it, because I was so frustrated. Every day it was like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but I'm sure you know how that goes. And looking forward to you guys dialing it in, because we will be outsourcing our embroidery to you guys, because I'd rather make less and have someone else deal with the headache. Which you've got Ethan there and your crew there that's going to get it completely nailed down, man. So that's exciting things happening over there at Make Your Mark Design. Finally got to go visit your shop this last week too, which is was very exciting to see everything in motion.
Yeah, what'd you think of it? You like it? Want to come work for me?
Super cool. Hey, listen, don't tempt me. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a really, really impressive scenario, or it's not scenario, but situation there. Really impressive shop. Really like the different departments you have going on. And you can tell there's good synergy just kind of walking in and seeing how everything kind of works together. And of course, I know like probably more than 70% of your staff. So it's always good to see old faces and friends as you walk in there and say what's up. So how's it going though, man? You've been running an operational with your full crew back for a week now after the COVID scares. How's things going? Things progressing well?
Yeah, we finally got through all of our, our strategic planning, and now we have like lists of to-dos that are, as long as my arm. And so we're just cranking through those things. The main focus right now is the infrastructure for bringing on new clients. We've got a few people that have been, chomping at the bit to have us fulfill some of their stuff. And we just obviously need a system for that and really kind of dialing in some of that stuff. I mean, you can get away with like, emailing email me your file and the place you need it to send. You can only get away with that for so long, and ultimately it's just a headache. So spent a significant amount of time on Order Desk last week, just learning it, setting it up. Actually started my 30-day trial. That's I think that's the direction we're going to go. I confirmed kind of all of my thoughts about what it could and couldn't do, and so excited about that. A lot of things to do, but they're all going to move us forward as a company. And so that's kind of cool. I mean, I love the fact that every single day I go to work, I'm working on something different, and I really love the fact that we get to do this podcast and kind of document the journey also. I love, talking about print on demand and talking about all the things that I've learned, all the mistakes I've made and all of that stuff. And we also love talking to there's a lot of love in this little soliloquy I'm giving, but I really do enjoy talking to the people, that are listening to the podcast, and there's a lot of people that are saying really kind things about what we've been doing, and I've really, really enjoyed it. This is kind of, this is almost as fun as the business, you know what I mean? Like actually recording things and talking about them and documenting the journey. It's almost as fun as actually doing the work. So, I've really, I think we're in a good place as a company, and, we're moving in the right direction. And I don't want to overstate it, but this podcast is a really nice kind of release, you know what I mean? Kind of lets me talk through it, and it's cathartic in a way, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, man, I agree. It's been great to kind of record and document growth as it happens, and then seeing the community that's kind of built around this. I know you and I were in a clubhouse room last week together, talking about the beginning of print on demand, and just kind of encouraging some people to just start and go and get, and start pursuing this thing that you want to do, whether it's a side hustle, a full-time gig, doesn't matter, wherever you are in the journey, just start. And so it's really awesome to build a community of people who are supporting one another in that way. And thank you to all of you who have joined the Facebook group already and who are engaging in conversation, who are a part of the conversation on a daily basis over there on the Facebook group. Again, if you want to join that, printondemandcast.com/Facebook is where you can go to get in on that conversation. So with that being said, with all the love and admiration for one another and you, the listener, out of the way, we're going to move to this week's point of interest.
Well, howdy, partner. Welcome to the Point of Interest part of the PODcast. So grab your hat and hold on tight, because we got some learning to do.
So, Travis, you and I were talking about, things we could possibly discuss as a point of interest before we press record, as we're just writing extensive notes, folks. Just pages of notes. We'll come out with like some kind of thesaurus equivalent for what we've done. What we've done here for all the pages of notes we make. Thesaurus isn't the right word, but nonetheless, I digress. We were talking about things that we could possibly, talk about in our point of interest, and something that came up was design softwares and tools, because, of course, the granddaddy of them all, right? It's Photoshop. When you think of photo editing, when you think of that kind of stuff, it's Photoshop is first to mind, tip of the tongue. But Photoshop also comes with the price tag attached to it. I know you guys use Photoshop. We've used Photoshop. What's your experience been with that kind of software, both Photoshop, Adobe Cloud, Illustrator, what have you? How often do you guys use that software?
Yeah, we use it pretty much every day, and in different ways. One of the ways that we use it is with smart objects with our mockups. You can kind of, with smart objects, you can make something look like, for instance, if it's like a cylinder, like a coffee mug or something, you can actually put a flat image into Photoshop, into a smart object, and have that image actually kind of wrap around or look like it wraps around the photo and the backdrop or whatever. And so that's been really, really important. It's also really important. We've done that with some of our drinkware. So we do a shot glass, and we'll sublimate it. And when we print it out, we need to print it on kind of a curved thing because it's tapered. And so we've created a smart object to where we can put a flat object or a straight object, and then when we save it and open it back up in the background, it's kind of curved. So when we print it out, it fits the correct way around that tapered drinkware piece. So we use it every day, and there's probably other ways that we use it that I'm not even thinking of. Illustrator. I know our designer, one of our main designer, he uses Illustrator a lot as opposed to Photoshop, because he's actually creating the designs and kind of, digital pen to digital paper, if you will. And really designing it that way. So he's using Illustrator. But yeah, you're right. It comes with a price tag. You guys use it for similar functions, Photoshop and Illustrator in your business as well. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, a lot of those same functions. Also, any kind of social media content, stuff for this podcast, all these overlays that you see on this new video version of the Print on Demand cast, which there's a YouTube channel coming soon. All of these overlays are done with Photoshop. Exporting PNG files, all that kind of stuff. So it's very, very vital. I wouldn't say Photoshop necessarily, but a design software in general is very vital for any print-on-demand company. Whether you are doing the royalty thing, having people drop ship for you, or doing it all in-house, you got to create the design somewhere. You got to have that stuff ready to go. So what we wanted to do is provide you, the listener, a list of Photoshop alternatives, as it were, that are price tag free or cheaper than Photoshop. And the first one, Travis, I'll let you talk about this one because I know you guys use this one a lot, is Canva. So tell us about Canva and what it can do for someone that's looking for a design software.
I love Canva. Canva.com is an amazing online. It's in a browser. And it feels like everybody knows about Canva nowadays. It seems like that's kind of the talk of the town lately. But if you haven't checked, go ahead and check it out. It has thousands, millions probably of different backgrounds, and their licensing is very, print on demand friendly. You can use all of their stuff commercially. If it's on the site, you can use it commercially. They have hundreds of fonts that you can choose from. And then you can actually, if you are using it for print on demand, you are going to probably want to get the pro version, so you can download PNGs with a transparent background, because you can't do that on the free version. You can sure check it out though, with the free version, and see kind of some of the cool things you can do. And you can download like a JPEG, it'll just have that background. So depending on your style of art or whatever, if you don't want a box or a rectangle or whatever, on the design, or you can't have a design, something like that, you may need to upgrade to the pro version. It also gives you some more fonts. It gives you some more backgrounds. It gives you some more options like that. I mean, you can do everything from, it's just a very full featured online editing tool. I mean, there are a few things that it doesn't allow you to do. You can't do smart objects. There's a few other things you can't do. I mean, it's not Photoshop, and it's not built to be. It's built to be a very user-friendly graphic editing tool. They have tons and tons of templates. If you do any type of social media, it'll be a godsend for you. It's just so incredible. It's got so many different things. I could go on and on and on about Canva. I really, really do like it. But I'll let you go ahead and tell our audience about the next one.
Yeah, so the next one is one that when I first started, when we first got into this print on demand space, and we were doing coffee mugs, I was tasked with the job of coming up with designs to sell. So of course, Photoshop wasn't in the picture at that point, so I used Pixlr, which is fantastic. I had heard of Pixlr because there's a mobile app that you can use for photo editing. Specifically filters and double exposure stuff. So I'd always used Pixlr on my phone for that kind of stuff. But then I realized there was a desktop application, and it is very, very, very intuitive. It's kind of like Photoshop Lite. It's browser based. There's no downloading of software that has to happen. You just go to pixlr.com, and they have a lot of the same tools that Photoshop does. As far as the design element, you can't do smart objects. At least the last I checked, you couldn't do smart objects, but they're making a lot of expansive and robust improvements on the software to try and make it as close to a Photoshop equivalent as it can be, which is great. You can export, PNGs, and JPEGs, whatever, transparent backgrounds. It's fantastic for making, on the fly shirt designs. And I know my father-in-law, Jason, he uses Pixlr exclusively. That's all he uses.
Okay.
He doesn't use Photoshop at all. I do all the Photoshop work. And it's funny because now if I have to go back to Pixlr, I'm like a fish out of water, because it's just different enough from Photoshop that it's hard to get my bearings. But it's a fantastic place to start and a great solution, and it's free. So you can't go wrong with free 99. It's a great multi-purpose. It's got a lot of templates for graphics and ads, and like you said, same with Canva. So I would definitely encourage you guys out there listening, if you're looking for something that's free and a good place to start for designing, Pixlr is the way to go. Travis, I know we wanted to also chat about a couple, just briefly touch on a few different ones that are out there that maybe you and I haven't necessarily used, but we have heard of. They're out there on the web, and we've kind of stumbled upon them on research. So tell the people a couple different ones that are out there that we might want to bring to their attention. Yeah,
first I want to say Pixlr is Pixlr. There's no E in there, so it's just Pixlr if you're looking for that online. And it's edgy. it's hipster. No, that's not hipster. That's like, it's like the 90s version, everything was extreme or whatever.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
With a Z instead of an S or something.
Yes, exactly.
That's the whole vibe. Yeah.
So Pixlr for Pixlr. Another one that is very similar to Canva is called Stencil. You can find it at getstencil.com. It's a little less full featured, I think, than Canva. So my wife was doing a blog for a long time and used Stencil just a ton to do all of her her YouTube video. What are they called? The thumbnails, and then a lot of her Instagram posts and things like that. It seems to me, and I could be wrong, but it seemed like Stencil and Canva were kind of at the same place, and Stencil kind of stayed at the same place, where Canva just blew up and went, kind of to the next level. But so that's one. There's GIMP.com has been around forever, and it's kind of a free version of Photoshop, if you will. It's obviously got it has a lot of the same features. And if you are Photoshop knowledgeable or kind of literate, you'll find a lot of the same types of tools and things in GIMP. They may have a different name, or they may have a different icon. So there will be a learning curve. And if you're not Photoshop literate, GIMP's going to be really challenging, because Photoshop would be very challenging for someone when they're just starting out. But it can do a whole lot of really cool things. And then there's paint.net, which we found. Neither one of us have used it. What some of the people say, it's a very fast service. It's really, really quick. To me, it sounds like a 1994, Windows program.
It's like it's like Microsoft Paint on steroids or something. It's like the next iteration.
But it's apparently it can do a whole lot of cool things. So check that out, paint.net. Josiah, what are a couple other ones?
Yeah, I think one of the other ones we found was Photo Pos Pro, which is a very weird name.
Terrible name.
Probably the worst name on this list. Photo POS, and if you don't know what POS stands for, Google it, kids.
Don't Google it.
And so anyway, so it's that seems similar to Lightroom from what I found. It's for a video edit, or not video, photo editing. You can do a lot of really awesome photo edits there. It takes raw files, supports raw files. So that's another one. Probably if you're looking for something for social media, for content, Photo POS Pro or Pos Pro. I really need to know why they named it that. Would be a good solution for you. And another one, we'll go from the worst name on this list to the best name on this list, is Fire Alpaca, which is
sweet,
a fantastic name. It is Fuego, which is the Spanish for fire. Fire Alpaca it's more like an illustrator. So you can do a lot of stuff in there as well. It seems pretty robust. Again, something that Travis and I kind of stumbled upon in our research of this. You can do JPEGs, PNGs. So it's very simple and straightforward as far as its navigator. So I feel like that'd be a good, if you're wanting to do more illustration stuff, Fire Alpaca might be a good way to start. But there's also some mobile options, Travis. Yeah. What's a mobile option for people that are on the go wanting to make some designs during the day-to-day?
Yeah, I've actually stumbled onto a couple people. There's this guy named Nick Eden that I've just met. Actually met him in Clubhouse. He's been in the Merch by Amazon world. Yeah, he was in our Clubhouse room the other day. Yeah, sure. He does. He turned me on to this app called Over, Over, and it's a mobile app, and you can just get it on your phone, and you can actually literally do designs for merch by Amazon or for a coffee mug or whatever, literally on your phone. Really cool. He does some like Twitch videos or not Twitch videos.
TikTok?
We'll edit this part out. Yeah, TikTok.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, he does some TikTok videos where he'll just record his screen and he'll just speed it up as he's like making an actual thing. Sure. And it's kind of cool just to see it. Yeah, just to see his creative, the way he does that. He also, I think he throws it on his YouTube. We'll have Nick on the Print on Demand cast sometime. He's a really good dude. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm 100% sure there are other mobile options out there as well as other desktop options. But the cool thing about every single thing we've said in this point of interest, except for Photoshop, all of these are free, 100% free. Now they do have, you can upgrade or you can get the pro version or whatever that is. Of course, they're a business. They're going to have to make money somehow. But every single one of these you can get started for free, and you don't have to shell out that $30 a month for Photoshop or whatever, or however much they're charging these days. You can get started. Don't let this be an excuse for you to not just get started. And this is a great way to just jump in, start designing, and get some designs out there in the print on demand world.
Yeah, absolutely. When you said, don't let this be an excuse, I just had this thought of we probably have a contentious love-hate relationship with some of our listeners who are thankful for the advice, but also frustrated because now they don't have the excuse of not knowing which way to go to take action on these things. And so we're providing you with the tools to grow your business and to take the excuses out of the equation. So we're going to transition out of this week's point of interest, and we're going to go straight into this week's main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event.
So Travis, you and I were talking this morning. Actually, we saw each other. We're recording on a Sunday. Saw each other this morning at church and connected a little bit, set a recording time. And then you told me a story that inspired us to select this particular topic as the main event for this episode, and it's shipping. So why don't you tell us about the story that kind of inspired us to maybe use this as the main event of the episode?
Sure. So I was hanging out on Saturday. I was supposed to do one thing and I ended up not doing it. And so my wife had planned some other things. And so I'm like, what do I do? I jumped on the computer and just was working. I actually edited next week's, we have an interview coming out next week. So I edited that. I did a few other things. And while I was there, I saw this ad for a particular course that was like $27. And I'd seen this ad several times come through my Facebook feed. Sure. And I was interested in the type of printing that this course was going to show me. And so I said, $27 just to understand how they're doing this and learn a little bit, that's actually pretty valuable. So I went ahead and I bought the course, and it was actually a really cool method of printing and doing print on demand. I was very impressed with that. And I thought, well, this is unique. This particular course gives a really cool spin on print on demand that I hadn't thought of. And so it was valuable to me in that way. There was also some free designs that they gave out with it that you can use in your company as well. So there was some value that I actually got. And I thought, $27, why not? And I also, they had a Facebook group and the whole 9 yards. So, but as I was kind of just perusing this course and looking through it, they had a section on shipping. And so I clicked on it, and this person was presenting, this is what I do for shipping. And they said, so what I do for shipping and when I ship shirts, I used to use like an envelope that's like a cardboard envelope. And it cost me a lot of money, and I couldn't believe how much it cost me. And then eventually I realized, this is crazy. It's taking a lot of my profit margin. So I started using these plastic bags, and it costs a lot less to ship with plastic bags, and so that's what I do now. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is the information you're giving to people that are paying you
right
I was just
I'd hate to hear your advice for free.
Exactly. I mean, and I don't want to bash this person. That's why I'm not saying anything about this course or who it is or anything.
Sure.
Because I appreciate the fact that they did give me value. I did get my $27 of value or whatever. But I was just blown away by the fact that I'm sure as they were going through the course, they're like, well, we need to say something about shipping. Okay, turn the camera on and I'll say something about shipping. But they had zero knowledge of it, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I am a shipping whiz by any stretch of the imagination, but I know at least enough to talk about the specific, the names of the shipping, things that you're using. So, so anyway, what it did for me was like, make me realize that there's people out there that even people that are teaching other people that don't really have a grasp on some of the options that they have. So I guess what I'm saying, or, the caveat to this main event is that some of you're going to know every single thing we talk about, and it's just going to be old hat to you. But there are other people in the audience that I didn't realize were probably that existed really, but this particular experience that I had with this course showed me that there are other people in our audience that may not really fully grasp some of the things that we're going to talk about. So that's kind of the story behind the story, if you will. So we want to talk about, this is specific for when you're selling on platforms. Okay. Right. So this isn't going to necessarily, apply to Merch by Amazon or Redbubble or KDP, like we talked with last week with RJ. These are things when you are actually shipping a physical product to the end customer. On these platforms, you have to use a trackable method, something that is trackable, that has a tracking number. So you can't so I learned this kind of the hard way because I had these, basically they were like tattoos or fake tattoos that you could like rub, on your, and they were Christmas. And so we'd sell them every year. And I kept thinking, man, I really want to try to get a cheaper way to ship these. And so I found out that they would fit in this larger envelope and I could ship them using my ShipStation account for 80 cents, but I didn't get a trackable method. And so I tried to put this in, I tried to ship, and since it didn't have a tracking number, Amazon, Walmart, Etsy, they didn't like that. So I wasn't able to continue to do that. And so there's a difference in for post office, for US, United States Post Office, between shipping, what is it? It's mail delivery, and then there's shipment, or what is it? Package delivery. And so, right. Isn't that what it is? We were looking at the actual names of it earlier, but so basically, you have, I'm on a different page, so I can't look it up, but you basically have to use the package piece to have a trackable method in the United States Post Office. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the post office, and then we'll get into some alternative shipping methods as well. But I've been talking for a while, so Josiah, why don't you kind of introduce or talk a little bit about the post office?
Sure. So we use, and let me just say too, just to kind of tag on to what Travis was saying, is we've heard a lot from some of our listeners about like, hey, I'm starting to now produce mugs in-house because of you guys, because of what I've heard on the show, because you guys have inspired me to kind of take the step to do some in-house production. So with that, there's also the learning curve of learning shipping. And Travis and I have had to learn that the hard way, where you're shipping stuff priority when you could have shipped it first class, and you end up paying more money than you should have, and what have you. So we wanted to kind of present this as a solution to them as well. And like Travis said, if you've heard this, if you're doing shipping yourself, then again, this is going to be old hat. And thank you for tuning in. You're going to enjoy this because it'll just be refreshers. So we use here at What For Apparel, we use USPS for, I would say, the lion's share, 95% of what we do. when we ship to customers. And through the COVID stuff, it's had its ups and downs. But there's a couple different ways that you can ship through USPS. There's a couple different methods, I guess you could say. The first would be first class, and even though that sounds like what you want on an airplane, like that's the most preferred seating, it is not the most preferred. USPS only to say it's the lowest tier, so that's kind of like the low
the
method,
coach,
right? It's the coach. It's coach. Yes, it's
even though it's first class. It's coach.
It's sitting in the back by the bathroom of the plane, which Travis and I have had plenty of those flights, sitting next to a man who was probably a former NFL linebacker. He was big, and it was a long flight. So you got first class. It's based on zones. Estimated delivery is 3 to 5 days, probably.
Depending,
if you're lucky, right? Depending on where it's going. So it's definitely a longer delivery time, and it's anything under 13 ounces qualifies for first class mail. Now, the caveat to that is with the stamps.com account, you can actually get it to where anything under 16 ounces qualifies for first class delivery, which is what we have. So anything that's 16 ounces and under, we can ship in first class and save a little bit of money. But you also have to use your own packaging. So whether it's poly bags or mug boxes or what have you. But that is first class. Travis, anything to add as far as the first class shipping method from your perspective?
Yeah, you said it's based on zones, and so if you're like in Colorado like we are, and you're shipping like in the same zone, it might only take a day. If I'm shipping something to you, it might just be really quick. And it's also going to be the lowest amount. It's all based on weight, but it's also based on zones.
Distance,
so
right?
it's going to be the cheapest for that particular weight of package if I'm shipping it in my same zone. But if I'm shipping it one zone away, I think again, we are not the experts. I think there's 7 zones. So if you're shipping something from California to New York or to Florida or something like that, it's probably going to be, obviously it's going to be the furthest amount of zones, and so it's going to cost the most, and it's also going to obviously take the longest, because first class, again, is, it's the least important because they don't guarantee a specific amount of time. And so it can get delayed. We say that, and then we just came through Q4 where everything was delayed. It didn't matter if it was priority. No one was guaranteeing anything.
Sure.
But technically first class is not necessarily guaranteed. So anything under 13 ounces, what the post office says is first class for the package side of things. But with, like you said, with a stamps.com account, which, if you're using ShipStation, you have to get a stamps.com account, because I think they're the same company. I think they're just like divisions of the same, but they definitely work together. You have to have one to have the other. And so I was just going to say, so anything under a pound, basically, with that account allows you to get that first class rate. And we will have a link in the show notes for stamps.com. If you want to sign up under our link, we'll put that in the show notes. Like you said,
real quick, I Googled the USPS shipping zones, and it looks like there's 9 zones. It was updated. Let's see, in November of 2018. So it could have changed by now. But here's what we have here. Take this off. Looks like it goes like just where you're at location wise. 50-mile radius is zone 1, zone 2, 51 to 150. And then it kind of goes up incrementally from there. So it would also increase price at that point as well. It'd be more expensive the further you go. That would be, and again, that's as of November 2018. So, Travis, what is the step above first class if you were to want to get something there quicker, or if it's over that 16-ounce mark?
Priority mail. This is going to be, again, typically guaranteed, unless there's a global pandemic, but it's typically in anywhere from 1 to 3 days, depending again how close you are, and maybe you can, you know, check if the zones are the same for priority mail as they are for first class. I'm unsure,
Sure.
but I do know it is based on, you know, distance shipped, of course, which is it's going to talk about, I mean, that's going to influence how many days it gets there, and of course how much it costs to get there. The cool thing about priority, while it does cost more, and you do get a tracking number, the cool thing about priority is that they have some options to keep your costs down by they will give you flat rate envelopes. They have a flat rate envelope. They have flat rate padded. They also have some flat rate boxes. And what that means is that you pay one rate for whatever you can put in there. We use flat rate envelopes when a customer orders a t-shirt, but they choose expedited shipping. So a t-shirt doesn't weigh more than a pound. So I could ship first class, but if they choose expedited shipping, I put it in a flat rate envelope. And I think it's like with stamps.com, I think the one that we use is like $7.80 or something like that for a flat rate envelope. And then they also have a flat rate padded. If I could get something in that, it's about the same size as the cardboard envelope. About the same rate as well. And then, like I said, they have some flat rate boxes of various sizes. They have a small is not going to really, it just depends on what you're shipping. The other cool thing about Priority is not only do they have these flat rate boxes, they also have just regular boxes that you can use with Priority that aren't flat rate. So they have this Tyvek priority envelope so a hoodie won't fit in that flat rate envelope. But it will fit in this Tyvek priority envelope that they have. And Tyvek is that kind of plasticky feeling, paperish kind of, I don't know how better to describe it. But a hoodie will fit in that. So if somebody orders a hoodie, and they, you know, choose priority shipping, I'm going to put it in this priority envelope, this Tyvek envelope, because it's free. I don't pay for that. So, you know, I don't have to buy the poly bag or whatever. The other cool thing is they also have priority boxes. Again, not flat rate. So you have to weigh it and you have to actually pay for what the weight is. Sure. But the box itself is free. So for instance, we ship a lot of our 15-ounce mugs, our travel mugs, tumblers, things like that. Water bottles, we'll ship if they're priority mail, we'll ship them in a 7x7x6 priority box that I get for free. If I buy that from my vendor, that's a 50-cent box, you know, 45-cent box every time. So the 50 cents adds up. I mean, a lot of people listening to this might think, well, it's 50 cents, but it's coming out of my pocket. It's coming out of your pocket, and there's nothing better than free. In fact, the word free deserves a bell, the first bell of the episode. Woo! Free is the way to go. The bell back. Yes, the bell is back. So that's how we use some of the priority options. Typically, we're going to use it obviously when it's over a pound, and we're going to use their boxes as often as we can. I mean, you can also obviously use priority on your own. So you know, on your own packaging. So if somebody orders, you know, 10 coffee mugs or something that's going to be, you know, bigger than any box that the priority mail has, you can still weigh that box, tell ShipStation the dimension, or stamps.com, you can tell them the dimension, and it'll print you a priority label, and you'll pay an appropriate price for the size box and the weight, and it can be your own packaging. So basically anything over a pound that's going to be shipped with the post office is gonna normally go priority, unless you need to get it there overnight. They have some other options, but for e-commerce, for the basic e-commerce stuff, that's what we're using. We have a daily pickup with the post office. They come and you know, knock or ring the doorbell in the back, and we open the garage door, and you know, out it goes.
Totally.
And they're great. It really works great for us.
I found something real quick. Talking about the zones, I found something that might be helpful for the listener as well. It's pirateship.com/USPS/zone map. Maybe we'll upload this in the show notes, but it's interactive, so you can kind of see wherever you're located at, it lets you know here the zones are color coded, so you know what zone. If you're going to be shipping from Maine and something's going to us in Colorado, it's going to be a zone 8. So this is kind of a cool interactive tool. From what I could see, the zones for USPS, for priority rather, there's still the same 8 zones, and the prices reflect accordingly. So this is just a cool tool that you can use, and we'll put this link in the show notes so that if you guys are wondering and just kind of wanting an estimation of how far, what zone, or the price, what have you, you can go ahead and do that, and they have more cost estimating stuff in the bottom as well. So avail yourself of that tool as you continue. And so, Travis, there's a couple other solutions besides USPS that you can use, and you and I, admittedly, we've said this a couple of times this episode. We're not the experts. We're not the shipping experts. We know our ship, but we're not the experts on ship. So we've used UPS a couple times. UPS is, of course, Amazon FBA's preferred vendor. So if you're going to be sending pallets into FBA or items into FBA, UPS is the way to go. You can sign up for an account, and when you sign up for an account, I believe you get pickup service for free for a year, correct? So they'll come and kind of take whatever it is you need and send it in accordingly.
Yeah, I think you have to request that, or there's a specific sign up. It's beyond just an account, but you can get I think they call it Smart Pickup or something like that, and you can get it free for a year. For me, I had it free, and they never charged me for almost 4 years. And then this January, for whatever reason, they started charging me. So, yeah, and I was like, well, it was actually tied to my house because it was from when I was still shipping from our house, and I was like, I don't need this account anymore. So I called and I canceled it. Which means that when we do FBA from our warehouse, we're going to have to call them, or not call them, but log on and create, schedule an actual pickup. And I think it's $7 to schedule a pickup. Yeah.
It's not too crazy.
Yeah. And you can also drop your packages off at a UPS store. So if you only have a couple of packages and you're going that way anyway, save the few bucks and just drop it off. Otherwise, and we've both been in this game long enough. I mean, there's times I've had, 40, 50 packages, big boxes, because we had a big shipment or whatever. That free pickup was worth its weight in gold.
Yes.
It was pretty amazing to have that. So that's UPS.
And you've got UPS? Not off the top of my head. I will say something interesting. We've just started selling on Wayfair as one of our platforms. And Wayfair only does FedEx or UPS. There's no USPS through Wayfair. Oh. So their orders are usually sorted by UPS, FedEx, and so we'll have to either drop them off at a UPS store or the FedEx drop box. Thankfully, there's some close, but it's interesting that Wayfair doesn't use United States Post Office at all whatsoever. It's UPS or FedEx. And speaking of FedEx, Travis, I know you've used FedEx a little bit more than we have, because you can do it for correct me if I'm wrong, you could or you still can use one rate for SFP shipments on Amazon. Yeah,
you can. SFP is seller fulfilled prime. And what it allows you to do is do merchant fulfilled, or fulfilling your own goods, and still get the Prime badge on your actual listing. Right. So it's as if it's shipping from Amazon, but it's really shipping from you. There's a lot of metrics that you've got to keep up. You've got to make sure that your on-time delivery is top notch. Yeah. They just changed it actually just a few weeks ago, to where you actually have to do Saturday pickups now, which kind of stinks if you're, for a lot of sellers. I think they lost a lot of seller fulfilled Prime sellers because of that caveat. But if you're able to do that, FedEx One Rate is an approved Amazon SFP ship provider. And I was actually using it a couple years ago when I was at my first facility, and we had it on during Christmas, and I will tell you what, we sold so many coffee mugs using the SFP. They've changed it some. They've tightened up some of the regulations with the One Rate. Right. And they've actually, of course, raised the prices in some ways. So it depending on what you're selling, if you have access to something, and you basically, with SFP, you have to you have to process any order that has come in before 2 p.m. your time. I think it's 2 p.m. I could be wrong. It's 1 or 2 p.m. your time. All of the orders that have come in up to that day have to ship that same day.
Sure.
So, if you have the ability to do that, you can use FedEx One Rate. And what I would recommend you doing is get on the phone with FedEx. Make sure talk to a representative or some type of a salesperson to get quoted. Once you have an account, you can basically get quoted, and you say, hey, I shipped this much, and then they calculate it and they give you a special rate. And on One Rate, it's pretty amazing. So I still use FedEx for most of my non USPS shipping. And like we've had a couple orders recently that have gone, we had a 500 coffee mug order that somebody wanted in New York. Yeah. And so it was like 17, 18, I can't remember how many boxes it was, but we used FedEx. We used FedEx Ground, and because of the discounts that I have, it was cheaper than USPS. It was cheaper than UPS, and it's because I took the time to go and apply and get the discounts. I was able to kind of price compare and then save a few bucks with FedEx. So they used to actually be one of the FBA preferred vendors, but for whatever reason, they are not a preferred vendor of Amazon anymore. That's FedEx. Then there's a third one, DHL. And have you used DHL, Josiah?
I've used DHL just a handful of times. One of our clients who has a Shopify store, he sells a lot through to Germany, to Japan, just really popular overseas, and he was using DHL for a while, and I was like, hey, maybe you shouldn't. It's expensive comparatively to like USPS. Like their international is a little bit cheaper. But that's the only few times I've used it. I know. Have you used DHL at all in any?
Well, we didn't use DHL, but the company that I was when I was drop shipping, they were using DHL exclusively, and they actually, I was using it for international. They were, and I was shipping to a lot of countries in Europe using DHL. And then even they were using it domestically as well. And what would happen is they would generate a tracking number that would show up in DHL, and it would also be able to be pulled up by the USPS, because what they would do is that DHL would ship the package in their internal network and then deliver it to the post office for the last mile delivery. And so they had some type of, contract with the post office or something to where from this company's perspective, it was a first class alternative. So as opposed to using the post office, they were using DHL, and I think getting favorable rates, even potentially better, because of their large volume, potentially better than what they could get with the post office. And they still had that tracking number that would work with both DHL's tracking service as well as the post office tracking service. So it was kind of interesting. I don't really know all of the ins and outs. It is on my, it's a low priority on my to-do list for me to, reach out to DHL and just understand it more, because we're not doing huge massive volume, but we're doing a decent enough amount of volume that I think that it warrants a conversation to see if there's a way to save a little bit of money on what we're doing every day.
Sure, absolutely. Well, there you have it, guys. We just kind of again wanted to touch on this because we feel like, even though to us it's kind of, it's shipping, it's kind of mundane, right? Kind of a mundane topic, monotonous, if you will. It's something that we wanted to talk about and touch on because we know it will benefit you guys. It's just, again, knowing, that we have the experience in these areas that can help you guys along the way. And that's, of course, what this show is all about. So, Travis, before we wrap this up and put a bow on it, anything else to say about shipping? Yeah,
I'll just say these three, the UPS, the FedEx, and the DHL, and stamps.com, honestly, I would encourage you to get accounts on all of them, even if you're not necessarily going to use them, just so you have the ability to price compare, because you never know when that person from, Texas is going to call you and say, hey, I heard you do T-shirts, and can you do 100 shirts or whatever, and you need to ship across country. It'll be nice for you to be able to price compare, but you won't be able to. If you don't have accounts, I mean, you would be able to price compare, but you're going to get like just regular rates, and
you'll get some generalization kind of ballpark-ish stuff. I think if you just Google estimate kind of, what's happening there, you're
going to pay a lot more. At the end of the day, you're going to pay more, but if you have an account, you're going to get a preferred rate, and it's going to save you money in the long run. So that would be my advice or encouragement is go ahead and just apply to these different places, get your accounts set up, so when you need them, they're there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. We've done it hundreds of times, price comparison. If we have stuff, people want to get a bulk order out by this date, and it's really helpful to have all of those at your disposal, because you can get the best price and save yourself some money. So I second that advice for sure. So guys, thank you so much again for listening. I know we've talked about it before, but the new Facebook group, printondemandcast.com/Facebook, printondemandcast.com/Facebook. Avail yourself, be a part of the conversation. You can tell we're making a push for this Facebook group, really, honestly, because we want to engage in conversation and kind of grow that community more so than, shill and plug stuff. It's just that we want to get you guys involved in this conversation.
Take a picture for the Facebook group. I'm going to take a picture right now for the Facebook group.
See that you only get that on the YouTube channel. You only know what the pose is on the YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, you don't know what I just did with my hands. It's very suggestive. Anyway, printondemandcast.com/Facebook. Please go join the conversation and like the photo that Travis is going to post that he just took mid-podcast. So, and again, you can find us at printondemandcast.com. You can find more info there. You can reach out to Travis and I, info@printondemandcast.com. Please do. If you know something we missed about the 3 platforms that we don't necessarily use when it comes to shipping, UPS, FedEx, DHL, please let us know. Educate us, because we would love to learn more about those platforms as well and those shipping methods. And of course, you can get us on all the major podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Anchor. We're everywhere. Wherever your podcasts are, there the Print on Demand cast is as well. But thank you guys so much for listening. For Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand cast.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand cast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next week.